our nose right in there and having a good sniff around the Monday Scrum.
And it's a bumper Monday Scrum today. Hello and welcome, Adam Peacock alongside Brent Reid from the Daily Telegraph. Reedy.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
Good, mate. Good.
Good
always,
weekend?
Always good.
Yeah, you are. He's about like James Graham, Jason Demetriou here as well, but Reedy is like, there's like three of him operating at the moment. He's like an octopus. There's everything going everywhere
I'm
right
stealing
now.
other people's mail.
So you got Origin to get across. You got a new coach in rugby league. You got your mail to get together. You got your moment to sort out. I really said that actually.
Yeah. I forgot about that one.
Did JD, you look a bit more relaxed than the man next to you? Off on holidays after this one, so
yeah, up to the Goldie for a few days, mate. Looking forward to it.
You can tell he's going to
relaxed.
Goldie. He's got the white T-shirt on,
Yeah.
white
Praying
shoes
for
as well. You
sun,
got white
praying.
shoes as well.
Black
Oh,
and white,
okay,
mate.
sorry.
Versace man bag out the front there as well. So looking good, looking good. James Graham, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. It's just interesting hearing Reedy because he's got to be careful with his words. So if someone from New South Wales played in game 1 or game 2, they are officially dropped.
Yes.
However, if it's a Queensland player that isn't in the team, they're being sent for scans, rested.
I prefer unceremoniously dumped for New South Wales players.
Yeah.
Jimmy. Yeah.
I love the same outcome, but the language that is used to
Mate, they've been
describe.
sent for scans, Jimmy. What are you saying?
Been overlooked, is that right?
Yeah. Oh, that's another. Yeah, overlooked. Yeah. Not dropped, overlooked.
Just been overlooked this time.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Billy later and see how many times he uses the sentence that we're going to have from his media conference earlier today, the word Queenslander. So looking forward to that a bit later on. But we'll start with New South Wales. So Mitch Barnett in, Olakau'atu dropped. Well, I don't know if he's been sent for scans already, but he's been left out. He's 19th man.
Unceremoniously axed, I think.
Matt Burton is 18th man. But Jimmy and JD in particular, what do we think of Mitch Barnett in and the why from Michael Maguire?
I love it, actually. I think it's a great call. It's something I was thinking about in Origin too, but could understand Olakau'atu staying there. But if you look how Olakau'atu's been used in the first 2 games, it's been sparingly, and he's probably better off having someone who can play in the middle as well. And I think Barnett is made for Origin. I think you can see the difference it makes when he's not playing for the Warriors and how loose they get defensively. So, and I like it that you're bringing someone fresh into the team because you're going into Queensland. It's game 3. Everyone knows that. But there's some excitement around his debut for New South Wales. There'll be some real energy that he brings to the camp as well. So I like the subtle change. It's a subtle change, but it's a good one.
Yeah, I think
You saw him play on Saturday, didn't you?
Yeah, he was immense. I think it adds to their bench. It gives them it's a clearer role for Barnett as well because we were speaking before. Crichton and Martin are going to be playing for 80 minutes, and they need their 80-minute back rowers. They're better when they play 80 minutes rather than coming in and out of the game on a rotation. Your argument is, well, what happens if one goes down? Well, Barnett, he can cover that edge, and he'll play well on an edge as well. He's not there to make up the numbers. He will do well on an edge, but his main role will be through the middle. And yeah, that bench of Lenu, Barnett, and Connor Watson is a very dangerous one. When those 4 players come on, they really can change the game, that power game through the middle, which I think is where they got the real advantage in game 2.
I feel for Hamoli, first of all, because I don't think he's done too much wrong. And given he was part of a side that towered up Queensland in the last game, I think to be dropped as a result of that's pretty, for him, it's pretty disappointing for him. And I'm just, it is.
Of course,
They won comprehensively.
It's a tactical switch.
Okay.
How do you
enough. Well,
know?
tactics weren't good enough when they won by 40 points. They need to make tactical shifts.
Always
after
room
that.
for improvement.
Okay.
Coaches are never satisfied, are they, JD?
How do
It's
you
just
know
so
that-
predictable from you, Rudy. So
He might be
predictable.
sitting in an MRI machine as we speak.
No, he's good as gold.
Olakau'atu.
He's good as gold.
He was good on the weekend
but
for
I've
men.
got to say, I reckon Mitch Barnett, he strikes me as one of those guys who's made for Origin.
You
know what I mean?
Slap that label on him, have you?
made for. Look, he's tough, uncompromising. He gets through. How many
Has
many
there ever
tackles
been
did
a
he make?
footballer that's been compromising?
I don't know exactly what uncompromising means. Some are more tough and uncompromising than others, Jimmy.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's too compromised.
Yeah,
like
he's
that,
compromised. Leave him out
Just-
this week.
I'd say the
he
compromising-
he
he's just-
compromised like that.
Dave must be compromised.
He's
Yeah,
just
that's right. Yeah, Dave Fafita must be a compromising
He's
back
just
rower.
tough.
Get to
Forget
him.
the uncompromising. He's just tough. But he got through a hell of a lot of work on, was it Friday night? Thursday night. When did they play? Thursday? When was that game? It was Friday. I think he made 50-odd tackles and went the distance. Very good footballer, and got a bit more mongrel in him. Just what they need. Another bloke to bash us up in Suncorp.
Here we go. Get
Great.
the violins
Got
out.
away with all that illegal stuff in game 2.
What was the chat across the weekend, Reddy? The twos and fro's. I heard you on the coverage yesterday saying that Bradman looked to have his head in front, and he just had to get through the game against Canberra, which he did, obviously. But
he has been sent for scans though, Bradman, on a hammy problem. But I think they're going to give him the rest of the week to see how he pulls up.
But what was the toing and froing with the thought behind him instead of Burton, instead of Trbojevic, instead of someone else potentially?
Well, I think Tommy was well and truly in the mix, but then obviously he made his return on Saturday night, and look, he didn't look like the Tommy we know. I think we can all concede he looked a little restricted, and I think that basically concerned New South Wales a bit. And then obviously Bradman had to get through the game on Sunday. He played so well in Origin 3 last year, and once he got through the game on Sunday, I think he was well and truly back in front. So I think if Tommy had played really well on Saturday night and been a standout and looked like the Tommy we all know, I think Tommy probably would have been there. But that wasn't the way it panned out. And Bradman's obviously done the job before, and he played pretty good on Sunday.
Yeah. I'm just thankful we're going to see Tommy at 4 Points Park on Sunday afternoon and not risk it. But too much of an ask. Like it's like a horse that's been set for a Melbourne Cup. You need that prep, and all of a sudden you've had one first up run over 1,600 and then bang, you're over 3,200. I couldn't see how physically and mentally for Tom it would have been an ideal situation. Might be wrong. Never know the guy.
Cam Murray came straight back in.
Yeah. What was his injury?
But we're comparing a bloke who had a hip flexor injury and out for 4 or 5 weeks as a bloke who's battled 2 years of in and out, not played a lot of footy in 2 years. So it's not just coming back from the recent setback. He's had to come back from a lot over the past 2 seasons. So it's a massive ask in game 3 to come in. But I just feel like it's a like-for-like replacement, a genuine left centre, left-hand carry, powerful right-hand fan, good feet, hard to handle. It's everything that Latrell brings. And if they don't respect what Best brings, he'll hurt you because he's such a strong athlete. And again, I think he's someone who can be there long-term as well in the centres. How
important, JD, from a matchup point of view, was to New South Wales maintain Crichton v Hammer on that side, centre-wise, so that they were looking for a genuine left centre New South Wales?
Yeah, it was really important. I think they learnt in the first game. I've said it before, the right edge is 25-30% harder to defend than the left edge. There's no doubt about that. The ball comes crisper. It's Walsh's more favoured side as well. He's a lot more dangerous with his skill on that side as well. So having the best defensive centre in the game by a mile in there, and you can see the difference he's making at the Bulldogs this year. So keeping him there, keeping the edges settled, and you're making one change rather than 2 changes.
Bradman Best, what we've seen from him this season, how important is it, Jimmy, that we've seen him in a game 3, didn't have the stakes that this one carries, that you can lean back and go, okay, the unknown of whether or not he's up to this is not there because he's been there 12 months ago.
Yeah, well, he's got that experience of Origin, but it's a huge boost of personal confidence for him because, that he was up against Tommy Trbojevic to get that centre spot and his coaches trusted him. So imagine being in Bradman Best's shoes going, my coach believes in me. Like, that's a huge boost of confidence for Bradman that he feels like he's got the leg up on Tommy to get that spot. And he's been great for 2, 3, 4 seasons now, Bradman Best. And he's played in this arena before and excelled. So it makes for a fascinating contest, still trying to pick where the battles will be won. It's everything you love about Origin. It's great for me as well, being a neutral. It really is.
Yeah, Switzerland.
I thought you were a New South Welshman. Don't you always tip New South Wales, Jimmy?
I'd prefer them to win, really, as I do live here.
Do you want to be a Queenslander? We'll take it. England's in Queensland. It's close enough. Everton, Liverpool.
Far more lucrative for Switzerland over there to just keep everyone's gold while all this is going on and just let them carry on as they are. So, yeah.
It fits
Smart
anyway, Queensland.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
English. Was named after the Queen.
You're welcome, Jimmy. We take all comers, mate. Don't worry. We'll take what we can get up there.
What's too much sun up there, though, for that fella.
Yeah, that's true.
New South Wales off to freeze their ass off for a week
Yeah,
in the
they're
Blue
back
Mountains
in the
again.
Blue Mountains, yeah.
You going up there, Reedy?
No,
You look
I
like
won't
you're
be going
dressed
up
for
there.
it.
No, I won't be going up there.
Why not?
It's too far from the Northern Beaches, Adam. Too cold. Well, it's pretty cold the Northern Beach at the moment, to be fair.
It's cold everywhere.
No, I might pop up. I haven't been up once this whole series, so I might go up and have a look.
Would they let you in?
The electric car, I don't know if it goes that far.
Too good for you.
Yeah.
Like you're beneath, going day to day.
No.
Send one of your skivvies out there.
No. No such thing, Jimmy. I'm a man of the people, mate.
Does Madge need to load up his Nerf gun for firing some things Queensland's way? Or
He's already had a
quick?
shot this morning. He had a
what's
shot
he
at
said?
Gordon Tallis this morning.
Oh, okay.
He's basically accused Gordon Tallis of living in the glass house this morning.
What did Gordy do?
Well, Gordy said some stuff about their roughhouse tactics in game one.
He can talk.
About how they hitting blokes in the back when their backs were turned and grapples and all these cheap shots, which there were plenty of them.
Yeah.
I went through the game and documented them all.
Oh, but you
and
did.
Gordy made a comment about it.
Yeah.
And Mad just had a little shot at him, pointed out that maybe Gordy lived on the edge a bit when he played the game, which is probably a fair call, isn't
He's
it?
just gone back to the glass house
He's
one.
gone
has
back
he?
to the glass house one, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it worked so well for him in game two, didn't it?
You might mention about how it all, like what's the edge and everything like that. I was thinking about it across the weekend, and I don't know how much thought goes in, JD, from a coach in preparation when there's just finite margins in games like this. Refereeing this game is going to be one hell of a challenge. You're going to have 52,000 people in your ear screaming at you the whole game. You've got a team who's been bruised, last one. They're going to react. You've got New South Wales who are going to react to the reaction. I don't know how you keep a lid on this. Not in a violent sense, in a ruck battle sense, in a speed of play sense.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the challenge because New South Wales have physically dominated the ruck in both games. With 12 men, they dominated the ruck, particularly in the second half. So, Queensland are going to try to get a faster ruck. There's no doubt about that. New South Wales are going to try to slow it down. Where does that land them in terms of discipline? Because they can't be too ill-disciplined to keep giving Queensland ball on the reverse of what they got in game two. So there's going to be those challenges, but New South Wales are going to expect to go up there and get nothing. Honestly, just expect that no one is going to do you any favours. You're not going to get the 50-50 calls. The crowd's going to promote the ref to give a couple of calls against you that they might not usually get. So go up there with that mindset and just dig in. But if they can get their game on and go into that, and it's going to take longer than it did in game one. It's going to be, in the last 20 minutes where they might skip away. But there's just enough strike out there in that field if they just stay to their guns that they'll get them in the long run.
Klein, going to do it again? Is that the mark?
Well, I haven't heard. I think they normally announce it maybe tomorrow. I'd be surprised, actually. I think there might be a change in order. I don't think... I can't imagine Queensland would have been happy with how Game 2 was refereed, so wouldn't surprise me if there's some agitation made to change the officials.
Without question, at 34-0, it was all the refs' fault. Without question.
I didn't think he had a great game in Origin 2, though, actually, Klein, but anyway.
Why?
I just didn't think it was as well refereed. I thought they got away with a lot in New South Wales. I think that was pretty clear when you watch the game in replay. They got away with a lot.
It's happened in rugby league for 100 years. It'll happen for another 100 years. When you're getting bent backwards and beaten up through the middle, you tend to get the rub of the green. And when physically you're poking your nose through, you're going to get more six agains. You're going to get more footy. They talk about the completion rates or they talk about the possession. Well, if you're conceding 34 points, you're not going to get the footy because all you're going to be doing is kicking off and defending again. So Queensland will know. Billy will know how to control that. That's to dig in, defend your line because you can only have to defend it for 6 tackles and you get the ball back. But if you don't, you're going to be kicking off and defending again.
Yeah, you're 100% right, JD. You take your mind back to Melbourne Storm and their slowing of the play the ball tactics. The reason they didn't get penalised, despite the play the ball speed taking longer, and we've seen penalties from other games that were a quicker play the ball, is that Melbourne perfected the art of making every ruck look easy on the eye for the referee. So, look, Queensland need to be better in terms of their defence because if New South Wales poke their nose through, that naturally looks worse if you try and hold that player down for that split second longer.
I think they need to fight back a little bit too at Suncorp. I think they got bullied.
Well, I look at this Queensland team and I look at the bench and I said, there is no way Felice Kafusi starts on the bench. The way that they want that first 20 minutes to look, JD. Maybe
Capewell drops back and Felice starts, or is that what you're thinking?
I think Felice starts in the middle and Cotter comes off the bench. That's how I would start if I was Billy, but I just think you've got to match the physicality early. And I said it, we were saying it just before, like if New South Wales get that roll on and the ruck does get quick, it brings Liam Martin and Angus Crichton in, just peppering your edges. and that brings your playmakers in. Moses kicking on the front foot. Like Moses had all the time in the world in the first half. I can't remember him being under any pressure to kick the footy in that first half. So they'll be talking, but the only way they're going to get pressure on him is to meet the physicality, get some control in the ruck. And they know it's in Queensland. They're going to get a little bit more leniency in the ruck than they would normally. So I've no doubt that Queensland will be getting numbers in tackles in that first 10, 20 minutes and trying to control the ruck as best they can. But New South Wales have to do that as well, because in the second half, when they started getting some ruck speed, there's some real tells from New South Wales, particularly on our right edge, where Queensland have had some joy. And you could tell in game 2 that they see that as an area where they can get some joy, particularly around Lomax.
Yeah. Well, all the best, ref, whoever it is. I wish them luck, because they might need it. On Queensland, so Tuolangi drops out. Coates obviously pinged his hammy. He's out. Sewer sent for scans, we're led to believe. He's out. Gagai, Cobbo, Ponga come in. There's some strike right there. Cape will come in to the starting lineup. But Dave Fafita misses out, left, right out once again. Here's Billy Slater about that omission.
Yeah, well, Dave was, a serious consideration. But we feel that the 17 players that have been chosen are the 17 players that have earned the opportunity to be here. All Queenslanders are considered, and Dave's a name that has been in the conversation for all games. Like I said, at the start of the series, he started the season a little bit behind the 8 ball with a pec injury. He didn't have a great pre-season, and he's still working back to the standard that he created for himself last year. And I'm sure he'd be the first one to admit that.
Considered all Queenslanders ready. You're in selection consideration.
Yeah, that's good.
By the sound of it. All seriousness, guys, what do we make of this one?
Look, I think David Fafita is playing better football than he was when he was getting picked for State of Origin. I think his game has gone to another level. Under Des Hasler, his output has increased, in my opinion. I probably don't watch him closely enough off the ball and those movements that coaches would be looking at in terms of because we know what David brings. I don't know what we're seeing that what he doesn't bring, perhaps. And obviously gone with Capewell, I know exactly what he brings, but again, he doesn't bring anywhere near that level of destruction that David Fafita would. And for me, it is a little bit of concern, the sort of lack of aggression within that Queensland side, especially if Ponga comes on into the middle. There's every chance of, if he's on there with Hunt or Grant, which he will be, like, that's not really an aggressive style of middle forwards.
Small ball.
And then you've got Capewell, who's not really an aggressive defender. Nanai as well, who's not really aggressive. So, there's even the opportunity of Hunt, Ponga, and Grant being on in the middle 3 for an extended period. Who knows?
Yeah, it's all about if they get on the front foot or not. So if they can get on the front foot, that lighter and more agile team's going to suit them. But if they're on the back foot, then they're going to be under a lot of pressure. For me, if I look at the first 2 games, what New South Wales done now is they've allowed Liam Martin and Crichton to stay on their edges, and they're going to challenge the Queensland back rowers to be able to defend them time and time again for 80 minutes. And I'm not confident that they can. I don't think they can handle Crichton for 80 minutes, Capewell, and I don't think Nanai can handle Martin for 80 minutes. So having someone like Dave Fafita coming off the bench would have been a massive ploy, because I don't think that they can handle them at the way they're playing, those 2 players, for 80 minutes.
I'm surprised Dave wasn't there, but I've got to say, I didn't think he really banged down the door against the Sharks. Was it Thursday? When was that game? I don't think he really banged. To me, he didn't bang down the door. It looked like a guy who was almost playing thinking I'm already in, to me, when I watched that game. And I kept a pretty close eye on Dave. I just didn't think he had his greatest game on Thursday, whilst I think if he'd come out and had a barnstorming game, I reckon Dave would have been in the team, but I just didn't think he demanded to be selected. I would have picked him. I'm not saying I would have. I'm saying I didn't walk away from that game going, he has to be there.
It's interesting with Fafita. He rarely has a player like him been judged as harshly. It seems for a big game like someone like Billy Slater, who's pretty up and down. But reading between the lines what he said there, it just sounds like Dave Fafita has been judged totally on what he can't do rather than what we know he can do, which is it's an interesting balance for such a big game for a coach to rely on. But Billy's pretty confident that he's got it right.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Billy talks about a lot about what focusing on your players' strengths.
Yeah.
It's easy to focus on what you need to improve, but you also want to be acknowledging and focusing on the things that you do well, because that's what's got you to where you are. So, and in his, I think he chose his words really carefully. And in his press conference just now, he spoke about the 17 blokes that are picked for Queensland have earned the right to be picked for Queensland. So I think there's a little bit in that where he thinks maybe David hasn't quite earned the right to wear the Queensland jersey this season.
Overall, though, Queensland, what do you make of that 1-17, Jimmy?
Look, for
Remember,
me,
you're one of us now, Jimmy.
it's probably not about the 17. It's about how they approach the game. I think they actually started the game really well in Melbourne the first 7 minutes, but then when they just didn't have the ability to navigate that really tough period and find a way to get out of that. So there are probably a couple of areas that Billy will look to some of the leaders, your Carrigans, your Collins, your Cotter of the world to sort of help navigate that tough period through the middle third of the field. That's what they've got to focus on. It's a fascinating battle. It really is. But for me, the bench of New South Wales brings so much, and that so much aggression with Leniu and Barnett and Isaiah Yeo with his carries and Connor Watson. Like, it's a very strong bench for New South Wales. I really like it.
Yeah. Finally balanced. And, there's only 9 days of chat before we get to the actual game. So something will happen, won't it, Reedy?
Oh, of course it
Someone will say something.
Madge has already thrown a grenade at Gordy. I'm sure Gordy will take that well on 360 tonight.
I wonder if Billy throws any grenades.
Well, Billy's on tonight.
Mm.
I'll ask him
Interesting.
a couple of questions.
Billy, just say, Billy, throw a grenade for us.
Yeah.
Just don't even ask
I
him
think
a
it's
question.
Billy's
Just get him
style.
to... No.
Billy's not a grenade thrower.
No.
Well, we didn't think Madge was either, to be fair, until he unloaded before game 2. It's been good.
I was just looking at it then. It's interesting as well that how many players in the Queensland side in team are playing in teams that are struggling at the moment or outside the 8, as opposed to New South Wales, who are predominantly coming in with sides that are at the top, players at the top end of the competition. So they're bringing confidence into camp as well. I think that plays a little role, especially going into game 3.
Exactly. Club footy, Parra have a new coach. Jason Ryles is in, so nudges out, we understand, Josh Hannay. Is that the mail that you're getting today, Ready, with this one announced this morning?
Yeah, I think it was a split hair between the two of them. And I think, obviously, they've gone with Rylesy. I think it's a smart decision. He's been knocking on the door for a while now. He could have got the Dragons job last year, knocked it back. And the key with Jason is he's been around winners his entire sort of coaching career. He's been an assistant at Melbourne, assistant at the Roosters, assistant with Eddie Jones with England. And I think that's what got him over the line in the end, the fact that he knows what winning looks like. He may not have had his own team, although he's coached in the Illawarra competition with West Devils for a couple of years, but he knows what winning looks like, and this is a club that's, at the moment, forgotten how to win.
Geez, he's been around 3 rather intense individuals,
And
especially on
he's
game day.
He's not...
Robbo,
he's
Eddie,
a different sort of character to those guys.
and he didn't
Ryles.
play the game with a handbrake on as well,
No.
Jason Ryles, from memory.
I said that to JD earlier. I mean, I said when we were on our way here, I said, I still find it hard to think about that Jason Ryles with the Jason Ryles who I covered when he played the game, because he was a lunatic. But he's a completely different bloke now. Well, he seems to be a completely different guy. A bit like Jimmy.
No bent fingers in here being pointed at us, is there? No, sir. No,
You know,
sir.
it does my head in that. Like,
What?
up there.
The one thing.
no.
Sorry.
I've done you a hit a couple of times today.
The stigma around front rowers and I heard someone talk. It was like, oh, he's intelligent for a front rower. I'm like, what are you trying to say?
Is he like a compromised footballer? Is he?
Maybe you're not. Maybe you just don't get it. That front rowers are actually pretty intelligent. That's why Todd Payton's doing so well. Front rowers know a lot about the game.
Chris
And you
was
shouldn't
always
pigeonhole them
say-
to be these thugs that everyone thinks they are.
Rylesy was always a smart guy, though. I mean,
Yeah,
even when
yeah.
you interviewed him back in the day, he was a smart
That's
guy.
a bigger
So I'm not
that's
saying-
that's a bigger reverse than you yesterday with Jared. Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's because he's a front, but that he was. It's because he wasn't smart. I'm saying it's because he was
I
mad
reckon-
as a cut snake when he played the game.
Christian Welsh would win an IQ test in rugby league, I reckon.
Yeah, that's true.
He'd be top of the
That's true.
top of the pops. JD, if you're Jason Ryles, I don't know if you want to impart any advice, but when you lob at a new club and it's yours, You got the keys. What's key for him? Is it November, December, laying a foundation, a reset? Because I'm looking at Parra's draw and I'm thinking that they are right in contention for a wooden spoon.
Yeah, they're in big trouble for the rest of this year. There's no doubt about that. But he'll have to start making some astute decisions around recruiting. And he'll have his work cut out for him there in retaining who he wants to retain and getting some real sense of. And he's not going to start till November, so that makes that a little bit easier because you're not in there. But it's a little bit harder as well to see what skeletons are in the closet and all that type of thing. So, but what I do know is he's going into a club, and I was fortunate to meet with the three guys who made the decision and that represented the Parramatta board. And Parramatta over the last decade have come through a really difficult period off the field. They went into the whole salary cap issues. They had points deductions, and Brad had managed to start that. These guys have been part of reforming the structure of the club and have built the club in to where it is now, where off the field it's in a good place. It's membership's high, it's generating revenue, and it's a solid foundation. So he goes in there knowing that he's got guys who understand how to get the business running well, and he's going to have the support around him in terms of what he needs. And what I like is they've given him 4 years. They've said, no, you're going to be our long-term coach, and we're going to back you. And history shows they will do that. They've done that with Brad over a number of years. I think he's coached over 250 games, having not won a premiership. There's not many clubs that do that. So if I'm Rylesy, I'm excited about the opportunity that's ahead because I know I'm going to get the support from guys that are genuinely invested in me being successful.
Jimmy, he must have presented well on JD's point there about the 4-year contract, because very soon they're going to have a regeneration process that is going to take place with players from within potentially, but you've got guys like Gutherson, Junior Bello, Mitch Moses probably. Are they going to be there in 4 years' time? Big question mark.
They might be there in 6 months' time.
That's what I mean. Like, at what point and where does he get involved? It's a big management job, not just a coaching job.
It is, but what would attract any coach about this Parramatta Eels job is the ability to turn things around quickly with the roster that they've got. They made a grand final 2 years ago. They've got one of the best halfbacks in the game in Mitchell Moses. They've got a very strong squad on paper. Blaise Talangi as well, one of the hottest young prospects. Lomax coming over as well. Now, he's quote-unquote just a winger, but we've all seen what him and Ben Hunt, that combination on last play, has done for them. Can you imagine when he's kicking, when he's chasing those bombs of Mitchell Moses? That will be another strike weapon, which also may change Parramatta's approach to games. They do offload the football a lot. I think they lead the competition in offloads. That's not being converted into points.
Winters cost them there.
Well,
I honestly believe the slow tracks.
But with Parramatta and this style, that I look at that roster and I think it's a very attacking styling team. So can Ryles come in and bring in some new defensive structures that the players buy into and can affect? That remains to be seen. I do think we will see some player movement, but they certainly have it in them to have a quick turnaround, and then the long-term strategy of having Ryles in there I think is great as well. Parramatta fans are constantly speaking about the lack of players coming through the junior pathway, so that with that 4-year deal, your resources are finite, so you can't you've got to think about where you put your energy as a coach, so he can put some infrastructure into those junior pathways so they yield results.
He's got to make some calls pretty quickly, I think, or
big ones.
Well, the big ones. He's obviously he's going to speak to Zach Lomax in the next 24 hours. They spoke. Club officials. They rang the senior leadership group this morning, and they rang Mitch Moses, obviously the chairman, the CEO, and Zach Lomax was with him in State of Origin camp. So he was actually on the phone call when they spoke to the players to let them know the news. And I know Ryles wants to speak to Zach Lomax as soon as he can, just to make sure he's all's good with Zach.
There's no backflip happening.
No, I don't think so. No, I think Ryles, he just wants to assure him that the club's heading in the right direction. That he's got big plans for him. And Blaise Talangi's the other big one. He's off contract at the end of the year. Turned down that option. Wanted to wait to see who the coach was. He now knows, and that's a priority for Ryles as well. He wants to keep both those, or keep Talangi, and then he's got to, as you guys said, look at the roster. I mean, I think there'll be some subtle changes, but if you look at that roster after next year, so after 25, they've got, I think, only 8 players on contract, so they've got massive salary cap room if they want to make some moves in 12 months' time.
Does Craig give him the time he needs to kind of do the two jobs at once? Well, Wayne Bennett's doing it successfully.
Yeah, well, I think he'll be all right. I think Ryles, he's sort of got a funny role down in Melbourne. He's an assistant coach, but he's sort of a coaching consultant, director. He works with does some pathway stuff.
Okay.
So he's got a pretty flexible role, and he actually his family never moved to Melbourne. His family's actually still, I think he lives at Mount Ousley, is it? Is that, yeah.
Okay.
So his family's still up here, so it's worked out quite well in the
Oh,
end.
he's got plenty of spare time down there. Doesn't have to take the kids to school
Exactly.
and all that. So
Yeah.
good for him. Wish him well. Let's get to the mailman now, shall we?
Reedy's Mail.
Brought it up because there's some Sharks news around.
Yeah, Nico
Ready?
Hines. This news came out on social media. Nico Hines had hurt his ankle at train today, had to be helped off the field. I checked with the Tigers. So he's in an opposed session. Kick was put up. He went up for the kick and came down and landed awkwardly. They're not sure if he landed on someone else, but he had to be helped off the field, and he's gone off for scans now, Nico. So, and he was actually due to do media today, Nico. So,
Okay. So NRL physio, who on social media as well, he's
he
jumped
got?
on it pretty quickly. He said sometimes with an ankle sprain, it can be really painful, but not as bad as first feared. So it could be that one, or it could be something
he
really
needs
serious.
he needs a bit of luck, Nico. So hopefully it's not
Doesn't
that
he?
serious, because he's not having much fun at the moment.
Nor are the Sharks. The hell's happened there?
Yeah, they're in free fall. They actually navigated that tough part of the season pretty well, where they got victories against the Storm, the Broncos, and the Roosters. Obviously, they're pelted by the Penrith Panthers, but I think after that, most were anticipating they would be in sort of cruise control. But their starts to the game, it's almost one of them. As like you need to almost stop talking about it because we're putting such a focus on starting well, and that was spoken about in the pre-game. That they didn't have the ball until minute 8. It was incredible.
It's hard to do.
It is.
It's really hard to do.
But some of that was credit to the Titans as well, building pressure. Their short kicking game and their end of sets were phenomenal in the first half. The Titans, they just didn't let Cronulla get the ball. And when you're trying to start well and you're trying to get your foothold in the game, and a team's doing that to you, it can start getting on your nerve a little bit, and you can start rattling. Then when you get the ball, you try to overplay because you're trying to get yourself going again. And I don't know. I feel like there were signs in the game there that Cronulla are starting to turn the corner a little bit. But, they played really lateral in the first half, and there was a clear direction you could see at the start of the second half. They played a lot more direct. Nico Hines played a lot more direct, hitting, I think it was Nicker on short ball, and then they end up punching through on the next one as well. But they just didn't get enough opportunities. And when they did, they didn't. Their last plays would let them down, as opposed to Titans' last plays, who just kept the pressure on them continuously. But you got to credit Titans' defence as well. Their last-ditch efforts to save, there was 3 or 4 you were thought were certain tries, and they managed to get there and hold them up there. Is it Keanu Keaney?
Keanu Keaney,
Yeah, great game. You know, what a great little player he's turned out to be. So, it's not all about the Sharks not playing well, but that's the storyline, because they have, 5 out of their last 6 they've lost. So there's a lot of pressure on them at the moment. And we were talking off air before about the race for the 8, and they seem to have an easy draw. But what's an easy draw now? They're going to be playing, your Manlys, your Bulldogs, your Warriors, your Rabbitohs, your Broncos. They're all fighting for 8. So every game is going to be huge. It's so exciting for the second half of the season.
Yeah, very close comp.
Stefano Utuikamano had a meeting with Melbourne yesterday. Met with Craig Bellamy, Frank Panisi, and Paul Bunn, the head of recruitment. I'm told the meeting went really well. They met with Stefano and his wife. Obviously about Stefano potentially moving to Melbourne next year.
So to say the meeting went well, it's a bit like the compromise thing. Imagine if it came out that the meeting didn't do well, and Stefano let rip with a massive fart that really, really put Bellamy on his back foot.
So awkward.
Lingered.
Now, that'd be some good mail, wouldn't it? Basically, the issue there is convincing Stefano the right thing for him. Like football-wise, no contest, right? Melbourne's the club that would win it's a lay-down misère, right? Because they're up against the West Tigers, who've been battling. The issue is, and the issue going into the meeting and the issue coming out of the meeting is whether Stefano and his partner want to move the family to Melbourne. I suspect he's going to meet with Matt Tripp at some point in the next week as well. And Trippy will explain to him what's down there for him in Melbourne, what support they've got around him, what support they put around their players. And then it'll be down to Stefano to make a decision. So I don't think it's too far away, this one. I reckon we'll know soon enough. And my gut feel is that he'll stay at the Tigers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but only for one more year.
Okay.
And he'll give them a chance to show what they're heading in the right. That's my gut feel at the moment. You don't like that one?
No, I wasn't expecting you to say it.
Yeah. Well, I just think the idea of moving to Melbourne at the moment's it's a difficult one for him and his family. So if the Melbourne can talk him round and Trippy can work some magic there, then I think, he'll go to Melbourne because I think it's football-wise, I think even his partner recognises the best thing for his career. But I just think if they can't get their head around moving to Melbourne, then I wouldn't rule out him staying at the Tigers.
How big is it, JD, when you're recruiting a player to take into account, they won't have their in-laws in this city or like that? They've got no support system around them. It's just them and them alone. They're going into a footy club, but
it's important,
family.
Especially with the Polynesian boys because they're very they often live with their siblings, with their partners, and the families generally live together in big numbers. So it's a big thing from a Polynesian boy to move away from home. But how many other boys move from New Zealand over to Australia at a young age? So there's plenty that do it. And I think sometimes, it's the growth you get from that move that allows you to grow as a footballer as well, because you start growing as a man, taking a bit more ownership of yourself. But I think it's Sean Bloor, is it, who's down at Melbourne, who's at the Tigers. So he's got a good mate there, obviously, who he's played a lot of footy with, who he can lean on a bit there, and maybe the partners are close. That might help swing him to go down there. But it'll be interesting if they can get him across the line, especially if they keep Asafa Solomona as well.
Yeah.
Or does that mean there's a swap deal with the Tigers? I don't know, because there's been talk all year about Asafa not being there in the future.
The latest was Nelson was keen to stay in Melbourne and thought he was going okay. I think I've been told that Melbourne think they can fit them both in. I think that would be difficult. I reckon, and if Stefano ends up going there, I'd be surprised if Nelson stays. No, he might go to rugby. He had a deal in rugby, I believe. Last year, he had a deal lined up in Japan, a big money deal in Japan. He knocked it back to stay in Melbourne and sign a contract and a long-term deal down there. So I wouldn't rule out Nelson potentially going to rugby if he decides he's going to leave the club.
Fair enough.
Vegas, I reckon we're finally going to get this announced in the next couple of days.
Yeah, sure.
This time I'm certain.
Okay.
So we know the 4 clubs: Warriors, Panthers, Sharks, Raiders. There'll be a test match, Australia and England, I believe a women's test match. And I think they're still confident they've got a Super League game over the line. Yep. So I reckon the next couple of days we could finally have an announcement on Vegas.
Happy with that idea, Jimmy, taking a Super League game over there?
Yeah.
And JD, you've been in that comp over there?
Yeah, there was
good idea.
Plenty of English fans over there.
There was heaps, yeah.
Without any advertising either. Like that was just pure people going, I can get on a quick flight to Vegas.
Yeah.
What is that flight, Jimmy? From London to Vegas? London
It's
to
about
LA.
9 hours.
No one's going from London.
Yeah.
You go from Manchester.
Manchester.
It's usually a stopover, but it's about 9 hours, I think.
Certainly easier than coming to Sydney or Brisbane.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's cheap as well.
Yeah.
To fly from the UK to Vegas is nowhere near what it costs to go from Australia. So that's a great way to start the season for them. Get over, watch a bit of footy, and they all come to watch it NRL. So I'm sure there'll be even more come over to watch a Super League game as well.
Yeah, the British fans, if they know, if they've got time, they'll travel all over the world. Like we've seen it here when St Helens came to play Penrith the other year. How many St Helens fans came on pretty short notice as well. If you got the attraction of Vegas, which is a shorter flight, like it's just an excuse for
Imagine
a
if the
trip
St
away.
Helens fans or St Helens players, Jimmy will be king of Vegas.
Oh, no, he will. He'll walk around with a crown on his head.
I love him.
You like the new Elvis.
It's the end of winter over there too, so they're itching to get out and get some sun and back in here. So they're like, let's get a
What
break.
game would you take out of the Super League?
Saints Wigan.
Yeah.
I would take, but
Just go with the big.
I think Warrington's
one.
Yeah,
think
Warrington Wigan
is
is what's
saying,
going to be is what's spoken about.
Warrington
so, yeah.
Wigan. Is it? Yeah. Well, it's a big game. They're pretty
It is.
mortal enemies, aren't they?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
two of the bigger name clubs.
Yeah. And big Sammy Burgess will give it another dimension of publicity. That'll be fun. So you expect that in the next 48 hours?
Okay. Thanks, Brent.
No worries.
Appreciate it. Dogs. You can talk about your dogs now, Jimmy.
How good?
That was fantastic on Saturday, Arvo. The drama in that game was immense.
Not just that game. The past couple of weeks, I've said this a few times this weekend. Be careful what you wish for. You know when they were getting beaten every week and no real expectation to make the 8. It was kind of like, it was disappointing, and you get upset and you start to complain about where this club's going. But then being in these tight games, it's nerve-wracking. It's hard to watch. You ride every play. Like, I honestly don't know how coaches do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's great you come out the other end and you got that feeling of euphoria. But
or flip side, Andrew Webster at full time.
Yeah,
the poor guy.
And it's coming up in my WTF moment, but there was a moment in that game that, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, it was a great win for the Dogs.
One thing I'll point out as well, it came through the TV. I was there a few weeks ago for the Parra game when there was 45 there. That was a public holiday, but there was 25 there. A core stadium does cop it from General Rugby League. Like when it's wet Thursday night, your South team was there involved in a couple of games where you look around and you go, there's not 4,000 people here. But that was pumping through the TV, and there was only 25 there. And they do a good job. They partition off the top and everything like that. It was a really good atmosphere coming through the ground.
They're probably one of the more vocal supporters, aren't they, the Doggies? They really make some noise and get behind their team. And they're like everybody else. They're starting to sense, there's something happening around here, and they're jumping on. I think that's helping the playing group as well, because they're getting some energy off what their supporters and their members are bringing to the game. So it's exciting time for the Doggies. Real battle coming at the back end of the year, but definitely exciting.
Geez, I felt for the Warriors, though.
Yeah.
They're down to one on the bench, I think, at the end of that game, and
nothing's going for them at the moment.
No,
it's one of those seasons.
I really felt for them. Felt for Andrew Webster and everyone.
But for the Dogs, it's more proof that in life in general, if you go in with low expectations, you enjoy it more. I'm telling you, it's the way to live.
It's like our listeners.
Yeah, they come in here and listen to this and think, oh, wow, it's actually pretty good.
I like that, really.
Anyway,
Thanks, mate.
The Broncos, like Kevy seems to think that game on the weekend could be the catalyst for something better around the corner. And it was a pretty good Penrith side that they came up against and just fell short. We believe in Kevy? Is it like, or is it, oh man, you are running out of room to do anything this season?
Well, they are starting to get close to must-win territory in terms of games, but it was the best performance of the Broncos for this season, in my opinion. They didn't get the result, but it was the best performance. It looks to me as if there's been that the season starts now. Conversation had in the week up to that game. They obviously didn't get the win, but if they play like that, they'll win more than they'll lose, and they'll play finals. It just, you sort of begs the question of where was this against the Titans? Like, where was this against some of those teams that we really should have beaten? Why did we have to wait until we play the Penrith Panthers, the grand final rematch, to have a performance like that?
Yeah. They played this weekend, but they've got a few out, don't they?
Yeah, and their next four, Dragons, Knights, Bulldogs, and Titans.
Yeah.
So you'd like to think off the back of, what Kevy saw and what we all saw was a much more intent, and they went after the game. I thought it was best Ezra Mann's played for a while. I thought he looked like he wanted to get in the game. His defence was outstanding. So if they can build on that, they've got another half coming in now in Rogers. So, they just need to get one. They get one, they get two, and then they'll reckon they take off. But the longer it takes to get that 2 or 3 wins in a row, the pressure's going to keep building for them.
When's Reynolds back?
I think it's round 23. Yeah,
Oh,
but even
not
beyond
too late.
those games, Jody, you mentioned they go Cows, Eels, Dolphins, and then Storm last round. And Storm may rest a host of players last round if they're entrenched in the top 2, which they probably will be. So if they're good enough, they'll get there because the draw's kind to them. And if they defend like they did the other night, then that should be enough to get them over the line. I would have thought enough of those games. But geez, it's getting tight.
It's just another re-emphasis about the remarkable ability for Penrith to do what they've done in the last couple of years. Like Broncos play really quick, did last year, got them to a grand final, got them to the precipice of knocking over Penrith. But Penrith have done this for nearly 4 years now.
It's ridiculous. They are that hard to beat. And when you coach against them, right, we need to be completing at 85%. All right, we need to be above that, all right, because that's the only chance we're going to get to keep them down their end. Because if they dictate terms in terms of where they finish their sets, they just suffocate the life out of you, and you can't get out of you. And by the time you get some footy and start getting some momentum, the game could be well and truly gone. And they're doing that now without Nathan Cleary for a long period of time. So he's still to come back in, and there's another gear for him to go to yet. So I thought, while I was impressive for Brisbane's performance, it was actually a really good win for Penrith because I think they'd lost the previous week, hadn't they? And so they
without their origin.
Some real pressure on them going into that game as well. So they put in a performance that was, what can you say about the fullback?
Yes,
Edwards just keeps delivering, doesn't he?
You can see why Maguire was dead keen to have him in, and then Origin showed it, and then again on the weekend, Ivan said about Nathan, he's on track, but he didn't want to go any further because it sounds like he doesn't want to jinx anything as Nathan.
You're talking about the fullback they brought in at the expense of the captain and long-serving player.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're going pretty good without Nathan, aren't they? He's a handy bloke to have up your sleeve, Nathan. Coming back.
They've got a bye this week as well, so they got no pressure on.
Exactly. Here we go. To end this edition of Monday Scrum.
Now, the WTF moment.
Start?
Look, I want to go. I hate doing this because you know I'm a
No, but you do it anyway.
You know I'm a loyal Queensland
But you do it
supporter.
anyway.
But my WTF moment is Billy Slater cancelling their open media session.
Oh, really?
So every Origin,
Yeah.
every team, New South Wales and Queensland, the day after the team's picked, every player's been available for as long as I can remember. This year, Billy's ditched it. Only a couple of players up for media.
Siege
and
mentality.
The coach.
Siege mentality.
Has he said why?
I don't know if he got asked about it today. I'm not
Is he
sure.
allowed to?
Yeah, there are. I checked today. There's basically no rules governing media in Origin. You can do what you want. Yeah, I don't like it.
No.
No.
Can you understand it though, JD, from a coach's perspective?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. You know, there's going to be enough talk and enough said, you know, so I think he's probably guarding against his players fueling New South Wales accidentally. So he's probably protected them a little bit from that as well, but I may as well go to my WTF because I just changed it as I heard Reedy speaking. Like, WTF, Reedy, what's going on?
Did I steal yours?
No, you're having a crack at a Queensland.
Oh, I know.
Seriously, you've turned on Billy. Holy, this has never happened before.
JD, mate, he's gonna ask Charlie to cut it out now.
Wow.
He drew first blood, JD.
Did he?
Yeah, and 360.
Hey,
They're turning on each other. What's going on here?
From a journo's perspective, if you disappoint a journo in the way of cancelling a media op, not delivering the meat pies at half time, there is hell to
It doesn't
pay.
even affect me. I don't cover the Queensland team, so it doesn't affect me. But I just think it's, I just don't like it, JD.
Well, I'm with you. I don't like it either. It's got me that you've
I know.
come out here and just gone straight down day one, Billy. Pull your head in.
Hold on. I don't think I said that, Bill.
Oh, mate.
Billy.
Mate.
Oh, hang on.
I didn't say it, Billy.
So you've
I actually like it.
You've never taken a quote from someone and then allowed a headline back page splash with a bit of Boo Bailey artwork to go on it to blow it out of all kind of
I
proportion.
don't write the headlines, Adam. You know
I
that.
know you
don't
know
write
that.
the
I
headlines.
love
You
that.
know
the
I know
journos
you
say
do
that.
that.
I don't write the headlines. mate.
They actually don't, but that's the
No.
best.
Yeah.
But it doesn't wash. No, it's your fault. Headlines.
Unfortunately, that's all anyone reads.
Yeah.
My WTF moment. I've got two. One, you've got Jared Rea-Hargreaves making history.
Yes.
He got sin-binned. But what you don't do is bring it up in an interview after the game. But then our very own Brent Reid was saying about the sin-bin to Jared, and Jared didn't go with him. And then I just loved the little line at the end. He goes, I actually think it was a bit harsh. Brilliant stuff by Reedy. That was one WTF moment. Like, what do you do? What are you bringing that up for in front of Jared Rea-Hargreaves? I thought he was going to rip your head off.
Luke Keary said he gets sent off in
Yeah.
the lead up to the game. He almost got it right.
My one was Reid Marnie.
Yeah.
Like, Bulldogs defend their line. They finally get, they charge down 6 again. And then he's not looking at the play the ball.
That's right.
Yes.
Like, it was a WTF moment. I was in the Canterbury boardroom box, which they're very passionate, but it's with a sense of like that happened. I've screamed profanities and had people looking at me, and then I've just gone, oh, sorry. But yeah, Reid, what were you doing?
Yeah. That was it.
Oh, man alive. That would have been Mitch Brown stuff. Mitch Brown, pointed fingers, the lot.
Okay, my double TF. Down your path, Jimmy. Another sport. England drew a game of football on the weekend, and dead set, it is as if they have invented the game once again in its purest form. It is incredible what is going on at those Euros at the moment. Because England, if you're not up to
They
it,
all wanted to sack Gareth Southgate.
he was crap.
a week
They were
ago.
playing turgid football. It was average to watch, this, that and the other. They get to the quarterfinal against Switzerland and they draw 1-1. They win on penalties.
Yeah.
Pressure moments. Well done. But it's as if they won the game 8-0 and they're just definitely going to walk away with the trophy. WTF is, again, the mentality of the English towards their football team is just... No.
Wow.
The way they judge them is weird.
Well, mate, it's the same with the French.
Yeah.
France are getting slaughtered for how they're playing,
Mm.
and they're not winning, but they are winning.
Did you hear what Deschamps, the coach, said?
Nah.
He got asked, again, Didier, it wasn't the most entertaining game. And he goes, well, if you don't like it, change the channel.
Brilliant, well done. Yeah. Well, France and England, they could potentially play in the final.
Yeah.
And everyone's saying that they're rubbish and they're not performing well. It's interesting that, the performance v results.
That's
so,
what I mean.
Brisbane Broncos played really well,
Yeah.
didn't get a result. England, France,
Get a
not
result.
playing anywhere near their potential, but still getting results. It's fast, and people still aren't happy.
No.
So, what would you rather do? Play well and go out, or not play well and get through?
Expectation too, isn't it?
Yeah.
People go in with this expectation and unrealistic sometimes.
Fun to watch, fun to read about, fun to listen to. That's the Monday Scrum. Gents, have a great week.
Thanks, mate.
Pleasure.